First, let me give you a bit of background. I'm 42. Me and my 44-year-old wife, Heidi, have been together for what feels like an eternity, a whopping 10 years. We've been through thick and thin, and I thought we had the kind of relationship that was bulletproof. But as they say, life has a funny way of throwing curveballs your way. It all started about 6 months ago when I began noticing some strange behavior from Heidi. She was spending more time on her phone than usual and being evasive about her whereabouts. My gut told me something wasn't right, but I brushed it off, thinking it was just my overactive imagination. One night while she was in the shower, her phone kept vibrating and going off. Call it intuition, but I couldn't resist checking it. Let me just say that up until that night, I had always trusted my wife wholeheartedly. We had a relationship built on mutual respect and the belief that everyone deserves their privacy. I never felt the need to snoop around her phone or invade her personal space, even when she received messages from unknown numbers in the past. However, on that particular night, something inside me couldn't ignore the nagging feeling that something was off. When I unlocked her phone, what I found was like a punch to the gut. Some guy called Will had texted her saying he missed her and couldn't wait to be with her again. I read through the text history and found my wife had sent nude pictures of herself and the dirty things she was saying to Will. I'd never heard her say such things in my life, let alone to me. The world stood still as I read the messages. It felt like a nightmare I couldn't wake up from, and I couldn't stop reading. There were hundreds of texts going back months. She hadn't even bothered deleting the evidence. I lost it and burst in on my wife in the shower and confronted her. She pretended not to know what I was talking about, but when I pulled up the pictures and dirty texts on her phone, she just kind of shut down and didn't really respond. She just shrugged at me like she didn't care how much she hurt me. That really pissed me off, and I stormed out of the house to get out of the situation and cool down and process my thoughts. I stayed at a friend's house that night, and the next day I went back home to talk to Heidi about what I found on her phone. She told me Will goes to her gym and he's a really great guy. Heidi would go to his house to have sex while his wife was at work. Did I mention he was married too? Later on, I searched up Will on Facebook. He looked like the stereotypical douchebag gym rat. I also found his wife Sarah, and I immediately reached out to her, explaining the situation and providing her with evidence of the affair. I couldn't bear the thought of her being in the dark while her husband was busy cheating behind her back. I knew it was a tough pill to swallow, but I believed that everyone deserved the truth, no matter how painful it might be. As you can imagine, Sarah was crushed by the news. We exchanged messages, and she was grateful for the information, but understandably heartbroken. She confronted Will about the affair, and let's just say that their home must have been filled with fireworks that night. I don't know the details of their conversation, but from what I heard later, it didn't go down well for Will. Part of me felt guilty about being the messenger of such heartbreaking news. But the other part of me felt like Sarah deserved to know the truth, just as I did. She didn't deserve to be kept in the dark while her husband betrayed her trust. My wife found out I told Sarah and started screaming at me about it. This was the most amount of emotion she had shown me since I confronted her. I asked why she was defending Will and told her that Sarah deserved to know that her husband was a cheating asshole. It's been a week since I found out, and I've been sleeping in the spare room in my own house. Some days, I wanted to forgive my wife and try to rebuild our shattered relationship. Other days, I wanted nothing more than to see Will and my wife suffer the way I did. It was a constant battle inside my head. My wife hasn't even apologized to me. She doesn't have even a shred of remorse for what she did, and that's the thing that's tearing me up the most. It's like I mean absolutely nothing to her. A part of me still loves her, but the trust has been shattered, and the only reasonable path to take now is to get a divorce. Will's wife Sarah and I continued to talk. We found solace in each other's company, sharing our pain and trying to understand how something like this could happen to two seemingly loving couples. She came to the same conclusion as me and is filing for divorce as well. She hasn't told Will yet. He thinks the two of them are going to move forward and work on their relationship and try to forget what happened. Sarah and I are going to meet up in person for coffee this weekend. We haven't told our soon-to-be exes. Who knows if this will blossom into a new friendship or maybe something more. Regardless, I've got other things to worry about. I've spoken to a lawyer about the divorce. I already know it's going to be a long, drawn-out affair. I can already tell my wife is going to try to squeeze everything she can from me, and I'm expecting the worst. I'm utterly heartbroken by her betrayal and total lack of remorse at the whole situation. But a small vindictive part of me is happy that Will is suffering too and losing his wife. But still, it's an awful thing for Sarah, and that makes me sad. I wonder if I should have just said nothing to her, but she seems grateful I told her about her crapbag husband, so I guess it's a good thing.